Good afternoon, everybody. Beach House Guy here, live with my Wednesday wisdom with my friend David Meacham with Professional Inspections Construction. Thank you, David, for popping in today.
Thanks for having me.
And sharing us a little bit about your wisdom. And first of all, tell us a little bit about your company, Professional Inspection, and what you do for them.
Well, I've been in the construction business all my life. My family was in the construction business here in Tampa. I've been a licensed general contractor for 40 years, something like that.
So he knows what he's doing.
I know the bones of buildings, which a lot of home inspectors don't.
That is a correct statement.
They came from some other trade and really don't know that much about construction. But I've been a home inspector for 31 years, done about 9,000 home inspections in the Tampa Bay area.
So you've seen a lot of Chinese drywall.
Well, you know, that was a phase where it was only a few years where it was around, and most of it's been removed.
I know.
So you really don't run into that.
Okay. So tell us, most importantly, someone comes in, a buyer, into a home. They're spending the most money they've ever spent. It's their largest investment in their life. What do you do to kind of ease their tension because of the unknowns of walking into an inspection process? And how do you walk them through it, and what do you tell them to do, basically?
Well, I always encourage the buyers to be there if they can. And in some cases, people are out of town, live in another state, they're moving to Florida, and they can't be there for the inspection. But if they are there, the first thing I tell them is, you're going to know more about this house than the person selling it, guaranteed. And that's usually the case.
Okay.
Because a lot of people have lived in the house, they didn't pay that much attention to the home inspection report they got, if they even got one.
Right.
And some home inspection reports are as much as 150 pages long, which is a lot of reading.
But no one's going to read that.
Nobody's going to read it.
Right.
So they do what's called a summary page, which is all they go to. They go to the summary page, read the summary page, and they skip the whole rest of the report. So I've fine-tuned my report down to about 6 to 8 pages.
Which is perfect.
With color photos, with arrows, pointing to the topics.
So pointing to the things that must be fixed.
Right. And well, some things I'll tell in my report, this is what I found, this is what I think is causing it, and this is what I think should be done, if anything, to correct it.
Okay.
And if it's a safety issue, which I do find, electrical things, stuff like that, I will say it needs to be corrected prior to occupancy.
Okay.
Now, if people pay attention to what I told them and get it corrected, that's fine. If not, it's on them.
You and I were chatting a little bit earlier about roofs. Can you tell our audience what you're seeing now and what they need to look out for?
Well, it used to be in the day, as long as the roof was watertight at the time of the inspection, that's all anybody cared about, including the insurance companies. But the insurance industry in Florida has taken a lot of big hits with hurricanes and mainly water-related claims.
Okay.
So they have now set up criteria where if the home is more than 30 years old, they require what's called a 4-point inspection. And the 4-point inspection is strictly for getting homeowners insurance. One of the items is the roof.
Right.
The roof has to have 4 years of remaining life expectancy in it, or they will not insure the house. And that comes up a lot. In fact, I tell agents.
It comes up sometimes right before closing as well.
Exactly, yeah. They look at the paper, we're closing this afternoon, and this is an old roof. So I tell agents when they're showing properties, check the age of the roof. If the roof is old, either don't show the house or discuss the roof issue right up front.
Immediately.
Because a lot of homeowners, and I hear this all the time, we've never had a problem. The roof's never leaked. We never had a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not the problem. The problem is you can't get insurance. And the homeowner always says, well, we've had the same insurance company for 15 years and never had a problem. Well, the insurance company doesn't know about the age of the roof. If they did, they would also have a problem with it. And they would require either a roof condition verification report, which tells the condition and age of the roof, remaining life expectancy, or they're going to require a new roof be installed within typically 30 days, or they're going to cancel the insurance.
Right. And and clients will either ask for credit for the roof, or they will insist in order to get the insurance that the
Now, I also tell
seller
people,
puts the roof on.
and to move the process along, just because the roof needs to be replaced doesn't mean you can't buy the house.
Correct.
It means it needs to be replaced within 30 days of closing in order to maintain insurance, and it has to be done by a licensed roofing contractor. You can't do it yourself. You can't hire your uncle or your cousin to do the roof. It's got to
Uncle Vinny.
Yeah, it's got to be a licensed person, or they will not accept the paperwork.
That makes sense. Florida is a big as-is state when it comes to contracts. I learned this I've been a real estate broker for 20 years, and I learned this in Chicago with Florida, because I've been a broker in Florida for about 5 years. Everybody likes to use the as-is contract. As an inspector, what do you suggest, not suggest with respect to that contract and what you've seen the changes, over the years?
Well, when I first got in the business, and up until maybe 10 years ago, there was always a percentage in the contract for repairs. It was either 3% or $5,000 or $2,000, whatever it was. And I had a lot of clients would come up to me at the start of the inspection and say, look, I got $5,000 or whatever the number was in the contract for repairs, so I need for you to find $5,000 worth of things. Well, I'm only gonna find what I find, and I don't put dollar values on them, so I
Correct.
didn't really pay much attention to that. But over time, they stopped doing that, and they put in it as is. Now, a lot of people tell me, you know, it needs a new roof, it's as is, they're not gonna put a new roof on. I said, well, that's not necessarily the case. That just means they're not volunteering to do repairs.
Right.
They will do repairs if they have to sell the house. If it needs a new roof and they don't want to put a new roof on the house, the next buyer that comes along is going to have the same problem.
Okay.
So I make sure that everybody knows that, the buyer knows that, the agent knows that, so they can convey that to the seller and or the seller's agent, so everybody understands what we're dealing with there.
Do you like to educate clients
Oh, yeah.
on the process? Because I know for me, when I work with great inspectors, that the best benefit to my client, let's say my client's the buyer and I'm walking through the process, is for them to be able to educate the client, because most often they don't know about the bones of the home and whatever. Do you find that helps your
yeah.
client base?
Yes. Well, I want to help anyway. That's one of
Right.
the reasons I'm there. I see a lot of things that are done to houses, especially older houses, that have been done wrong over the years.
Right.
And
But your job is not to ruin a transaction.
No.
It's to educate. Like I had this one client in Chicago, and that one inspector who used to go into old Victorian homes and say the floors creak. I'm like, really? It's an old Victorian home.
That's right.
And
That's
the
right.
inspector finally
I live in
got
an
called
old
on the
home.
table, and you explain that to them,
Yeah.
that this is what it is, you
It's an old
know?
home, that's part of the charm.
That's
Or the floors
absolutely.
are on level.
Their floors are on level.
That's part of the
Put a
charm.
marble on the floor, see if
Yeah,
it
as
rolls.
long as the structure under the house is stable, there's
Okay.
no structural issues, the floor's on level, who cares?
Last two questions for you. First, David Meacham, person. What jazzes you the most when you wake up in the morning? What excites you?
Well, what's interesting about home inspection is every day is different. Every home is different. Every area that I serve is different. I serve all of Hillsborough County, all Pinellas County, and Pasco County up to about Spring Hill. So everything is different. Every buyer is different.
Mhm.
Every agent is different.
Mhm.
So it's interesting, as opposed to when I was in the construction business. I worked in an office, I had a desk, did basically the same thing all day, every day, which was boring.
Mhm.
So it's not boring.
Okay, wonderful. And then the last question, people want to reach you. How do they find you?
They can go to my website. It's www.experiencedtampabayinspector.com.
ExperiencedTampaBayInspector.com. Write that down.
Or they can call me at 813-690-2501.
Can they find you on social media?
They can,
Okay, Facebook,
Facebook.
Twitter, LinkedIn, the whole
the whole 9 yards.
9 yards. Wonderful. Thank you. Appreciate you
Sure.
coming out
Thanks for having
today. Thank you. Beach House Guy here again, live on Wednesday Wisdom. Thank you for joining us with David Meacham. Have a great day. Bye.